I read the Autobiography of Martin Luther King Jr., written by Martin Luther King himself and edited by Claiborne Carson, published in 1998. I read this entire book cover to cover, every word on every page. And this is the book. And I actually listened to the audiobook version of this. I really enjoyed how the audiobook version included Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches said by Martin Luther King himself. So you got to hear his tone and the hurt in his voice. You could hear the inflection in his voice. And I thought that was pretty neat to be able to hear all of that. One that stood out to me in particular was the Beyond Vietnam speech, which he ties in his thoughts about how violence is not the answer, and he ties it in to the world. And that was actually done a year before he was killed. So that was pretty interesting to hear. I would definitely recommend this book. It was full of knowledge. I learned about how he got married to his wife, and she was a very devoted, passionate person, and he feels like he couldn't have gone through what he did because he devoted his life to ending segregation or helping to end segregation. And so he felt like this woman was sent to him, to help him achieve that. And so he didn't have to go through it alone because they did not have the same husband-wife dynamics because he was so busy all the time trying to end this. The reading was super easy to follow, and it felt as if I was in Martin Luther King Jr.'s head. It was not boring. It was very interesting. I was actually very impressed. The details were very thorough. It started when he was a little boy, and it was his whole life. And altogether, it was just a really, really good story. And I would definitely read it again or have somebody else read it. I would definitely recommend that. I originally wanted to build my lesson plan around Martin Luther King's speech Beyond Vietnam. I was really impressed by that one in particular. It really stood out to me. I felt like it wasn't talked about enough in school, and that is one of the reasons I wanted to incorporate it into my lesson. But I was doing research, and I felt like it was geared towards older students, and so maybe that would have been a great high school lesson, but I am elementary, so I thought that it was just a little too advanced for my elementary students, particularly fourth grade is what I was doing my lesson plan with. So I decided to center it around the Montgomery bus boycott. And I wanted to talk about how MLK was involved and how this got him started on helping end segregation. I did not do a traditional lesson plan where we do a traditional history where you read and you answer questions, but I wanted to do something more hands-on. And so I made a hands-on STEM lesson where these students have to build a bus with one actual seat that they could use, using the materials I give them. And they start the lesson by reading an excerpt of what the Montgomery bus boycott history, a little excerpt of what it was. And then they answer questions. They create a flip book, they make a little flip book, and then they answer questions pertaining to the excerpt that they read. And then when they finish that, I put them into groups, and I pick the groups based on their level of education. So I wanted it to be a diverse group, and so they can help each other and guide each other in building this bus, because I know for some students it would be more difficult to be creative and hands-on and create a bus out of a Kleenex box, or a water bottle. Some students would have a tougher time doing that, so I made sure that I would group the students accordingly to that. And then once they got their bus figured out, which that would be the middle of the lesson, we would close the lesson by having the students write about a time that they remember that they stood up for somebody. So I feel like that incorporated all of the necessary components to a lesson, because they were reading, they were writing, they were listening, they were creating, they were hands-on, and they were engaged and having fun. And I think that's what makes a good lesson and rememberable lesson. So I'm really excited to finish up my lesson plan, and yeah, all right. Well, thank you all very much. Y'all have a great day.